Prologue: The Weight of Water and Lies. For 3 centuries, the Waterhill dynasty ruled from Twisted Mist Keep, a fortress of black basalt and weeping moss that clawed at the sky from the heart of Lake Vorn. The island was a prison of fog, where the air hung thick with the stench of wet stone and the whispers of drowned souls. The Waterhills preached devotion to Utulon, the god of cleansing depths. But their faith was a poison. Utulon was no deity. He was the vengeful spirit of a king who had drowned himself in shame after losing a war, his corpse fed to the lake by traitors. The family's lies festered in the village below, where fishermen left offerings of silver eels and children's teeth to placate the hungry god. Arthur, the second son, was born with eyes the color of storm-churned waves. His mother had died birthing him, and the lake had swallowed her body whole. As a boy, he'd wander the keep's crumbling docks, tossing stones into the water while Nerthus, a hound pup with gills fluttering like torn silk, padded beside him. The dog had been a gift from his father, Lord Alaric, a man whose devotion to Utulon was as unyielding as the cliffs. But Arthur saw through the rituals, the way the priests' robes clung to their shivering bodies, the hollow eyes of villagers whose loved ones vanished into the lake's maw. When Alaric, gripped by a prophetic dream, named Arthur heir to the Tides Trident, the young man rebelled. He stole the relic, slit the throat of a guard, and fled into the night, with Nerthus snarling at his heels. Chapter 1: Flight from the Mist, the Wave of Defiance. The lake was a mirror of obsidian broken only by the jagged silhouette of Twisted Mist Keep. Arthur crouched in a stolen fishing skiff, the trident of tides cold against his back. Nerthus growled low, ears twitching. From the fog came the slosh of oars, topielsers, the waterlogged dead, their flesh bloated and crowned with lakeweed. Cedric, his elder brother, stood at the prow of their pursuit boat, his voice echoing across the water. "Return the trident, traitor. Utulon demands it." Arthur's hands trembled. He had never wielded the trident's power, but desperation burned in his veins. As the topielser's skeletal fingers gripped the skiff's edge, he slammed the relic into the water. The lake roared. A wall of liquid fury erupted, swallowing the undead whole. Cedric's scream was cut short as the wave devoured his boat. By dawn, Arthur staggered onto the mainland's shore, vomiting lake water and guilt. Nerthus nosed a half-buried object in the sand, a map etched on seal skin, leading to the Temple of Lyran, a name whispered only in forbidden texts. "The true god of waters," Arthur murmured. The trident hummed in agreement. Chapter 2: The Tracker of Shadows. Voices in the deep. The journey to Metropolis X carved Arthur into a ghost. He passed through the village of Whispering Reeds, a labyrinth of huts built on stilts above black marshes. There, he rescued a child, a girl with translucent skin and webbed fingers, from a cage of rusted iron. Her mother, a woman with eyes like cracked porcelain, hissed, "She is the storm's harbinger. The waters rise for her." Arthur left her a dagger and a promise he didn't understand. In Karth, a port city reeking of salted fish and betrayal, he became a tracker. The docks thrived on secrets. Smugglers traded drowned voices, crystalline artifacts that shrieked with the memories of those tossed overboard. Arthur broke a smuggling ring, finding a crate filled with glowing orbs. When he touched one, a woman's voice sobbed. "Sebastian, he took my son." The name lodged in his mind like a hook. By night, Arthur slept in a flophouse above a brothel. Nerthus curled at his feet. The hound's gills flared at every creak of the floorboards. strangers began to seek him. A widow searching for her husband's body in the sewers, a dockmaster terrified of things slithering in the cargo holds, each job paid in coin and whispers. Sebastian controls the underground rivers. He drinks from a goblet of liquid shadow. Chapter 3. The Vision, a Crown of Drowned Kings. The river Styx was no place for bathing, but Arthur's skin itched with the grime of Carth. As he submerged himself, the water turned viscous, pulling him under. He awoke in a cavern of glowing coral, where Utulon floated, a skeletal figure in a crown of knotted kelp and pearls. The spirit's voice gurgled, "Retrieve my spindle of tides, or your city will drown." Arthur choked on salt water. As the vision faded, Nerthus dragged him ashore, whining. The spindle, he learned, was a relic of Utulon's drowned kingdom, hidden in Sebastian's vault. But why would a merchant crave a dead king's power? Because, a sardonic voice drawled from the shadows, Sebastian isn't just a merchant. The speaker was Evangeline, a hydrologist with ink-stained fingers and a smirk. She tossed him a dossier. Sebastian's factories leached poisons into the underground rivers, but his wealth came from trading blessed water, liquid infused with Utulon's essence. "He's building an army," she warned, "and you're his unwitting pawn." Chapter 4. The Temple of Mud, Scales and Betrayal. The Temple of Lyran was a ruin swallowed by a sulphurous swamp. Mosquitoes hummed hymns to decay as Arthur waded through knee-deep muck. Inside, algae-coated pillars bore carvings of a serpentine deity, Lyran, god of pure currents. Mirielle emerged like a mirage. Her skin shimmered with opalescent scales, and her hair writhed with eels. "You reek of Utulon," she spat, yet her eyes softened when Nerthus approached, sniffing. She gifted Arthur the dagger of dew, its blade forged from morning mist. "Cut through Sebastian's lies," she ordered. The dagger's edge revealed truths. Utulon was Lyran's prisoner, bound to the spindle. Sebastian sought to free him, merging their powers to control all water. Arthur's resolve hardened, but Nerthus paced anxiously, sensing the storm ahead. Chapter 5. The Stilt House, a Hound Sacrifice. Sebastian's trap snapped shut in the Metropolis docks. Topielshers oozed from barrels, led by Cedric, now a puppet of rotting flesh and blackened bone. "Brother," Cedric rasped, "you belong to the deep." Nerthus lunged, teeth sinking into Cedric's throat. The hound's howl echoed as Cedric's dagger found its ribs. Arthur screamed, driving the dagger of dew into his brother's chest. Cedric dissolved into brackish foam, but Nerthus lay still, gills motionless. Loran's voice boomed in Arthur's mind, "A life for a life." The Stilt House materialized, a shack perched above the river, its walls humming with the magic of liminal spaces. Inside, time bled, the past, a crackling hearth, Nerthus's puppy barks, and the present, silence, blood on the floorboards, coexisted. Arthur collapsed, clutching Nerthus's body. By dawn, the hound was gone, but paw prints glistened on the dock below, leading into the mist. Chapter 6. The Water Coalition. Poison and Pact. The Stilt House became Arthur's sanctuary and war room. Mirielle arrived with vials of antidote. Captain Voss, a grizzled smuggler, brought charts of underground rivers. Gareth, Evangeline's colleague, analyzed toxins in Sebastian's water. Evangeline herself was a puzzle. Her laughter was too sharp, her interest in Lyran too keen. "Gods are forces, not friends," she warned. Together they sabotaged Sebastian's pumps, turning his poisoned rivers against him. But Arthur noticed Mirielle's hesitation when Lyran's name was spoken, and the way her scales dulled near the Stilt House. Chapter 7. The Drowning Palace, a god's price. Sebastian's palace was a monstrosity of glass and drowned steel, built over a whirlpool. Inside, the spindle of tides pulsed, its light staining the walls corpse blue. Sebastian awaited, his body now a vessel for Utulon. Tentacles sprouted from his spine, his eyes twin abysses. "Join me," he crooned, "and we'll cleanse this wretched world." The battle raged through collapsing halls. Arthur shattered the spindle, but Utulon surged into Metropolis's mayor, transforming him into a leviathan of teeth and brine. Desperate, Arthur sacrificed the stilt house, its timbers igniting with Lyran's azure flame. The god answered. A tidal wave of pure light crushed the leviathan, dragging the palace into the abyss. Sebastian escaped, but Utulon's chains held. For now, epilogue. The keeper and the pup Metropolis X breathed easier, its rivers running clearer. Arthur stood on the stilt house's new dock, rebuilt by Lyran's grace. Behind him, Mirielle sang a hymn, her voice tinged with sorrow. Evangeline studied the water, murmuring of greater threats. A splash drew Arthur's gaze. Nerthus, no, a pup with the same steel-gray fur and luminous gills, paddled joyfully, a silver fish in its jaws. Arthur smiled. The lake had taken much, but water was cyclical, loss and rebirth, truth and lies, forever intertwined. He gripped the trident, its prongs gleaming. Somewhere, Sebastian plotted. Somewhere, Utulon stirred. But for now, the Keeper of Waters watched, waited, and remembered. The deep never forgets, and neither do I.